By 1961, Ray Harryhausen had already conquered dinosaurs and Greek mythology, bringing the impossible to life one frame at a time. But when he adapted Jules Verne's adventure novel, he did something different. He traded fantasy for science, magic for radiation, and created a world where every monster had a terrifying logical explanation. Mysterious Island wasn't just another creature feature. It was proof that stop-motion animation could merge survival horror with Cold War anxiety, turning atomic age fears into giant claws and prehistoric nightmares. These are 15 weird facts about Mysterious Island that helped change creature features forever, inspired generations of filmmakers, and proved that the most convincing monsters aren't born from magic, they're born from mistakes. Before we set sail into danger, if you love exploring the practical magic that built cinema's greatest creatures, smash that subscribe button and hype this video. It keeps the stop-motion legacy alive and the forgotten craftsmanship remembered. Stick around, because the story behind this island is just as wild as the mutations that lived on it. Alright, let's get into it. Number 1. The crab came from a luxury grocery store. When Ray Harryhausen needed a giant mutated crab for his film, he didn't sketch it from imagination. He walked straight into Harrods food hall in London, one of the world's most exclusive department stores, and purchased 3 actual crabs. But there was a problem. Boiling them would change the shell color and ruin the natural texture he needed. So Harryhausen took them to the Natural History Museum, where staff members humanely killed them, preserving the shells perfectly. He dismantled the crabs, cleaned them meticulously, and fitted the shells with internal armatures for stop-motion animation. The other 2 crabs served a dual purpose, providing detailed close-ups of the giant crab's mandibles before being cooked and served to the crew for dinner. Nothing went to waste. It's the perfect illustration of Harryhausen's philosophy. The most fantastical effects start with reality. Sometimes the path to movie magic runs through the seafood counter. Number 2. The giant bird was recycled from another movie. That terrifying prehistoric bird, the Phorusrhacos that stalks the castaways through the jungle, wasn't originally designed for Mysterious Island at all. Harryhausen had created it for an earlier project with a completely different concept, one focused purely on prehistoric creatures. When the film's plot shifted to center on Captain Nemo's radiation experiments, most of the original creature designs got scrapped, but the bird survived. It was too good to waste, too menacing to abandon. Harryhausen adapted it to fit the new radiation mutation storyline, and it became one of the film's most memorable threats. The lesson is clear. In filmmaking, especially on tight budgets, nothing gets thrown away. The best monsters sometimes come from the cutting room floor of previous ideas. Adaptation isn't just for scripts, it's for creatures too. Number 3. The bees had functional engineering. For the beehive sequence, Harryhausen didn't cut corners. He animated giant bees with working stingers and translucent wings that actually moved during filming. But the engineering didn't stop with the miniatures. The production team built a full-scale honeycomb interior set large enough for adult actors to crawl through, creating a nightmarish sense of scale and claustrophobia. When you watch those scenes, you're seeing real actors navigating giant hexagonal chambers, then seamlessly cut with Harryhausen's animated insects. Every detail mattered to him, even the parts that flashed across the screen in mere seconds. That obsessive attention to realism, giving the bees anatomically correct features, making the hive feel genuinely oppressive, elevated the sequence from simple monster movie to visceral nightmare. Sometimes the most effective horror comes from making the impossible feel tangible. Number 4. The finale almost lost its monster. The giant ammonite, that tentacled prehistoric monstrosity that attacks near the film's climax, almost never existed. Budget concerns threatened to cut it entirely. The producers argued the film already had enough creatures, enough set pieces, enough spectacle, but Harryhausen fought back hard. He insisted the film needed that climactic monster moment, that final crescendo of terror before the volcanic destruction. Without it, he argued, the story would just peter out, the tension deflating instead of exploding. He won the battle, and that creature became one of the film's most memorable and discussed sequences. It's a reminder that sometimes the best moments in cinema happen because someone refused to compromise, because an artist stood their ground and demanded that the vision stay intact. The ammonite wasn't just another monster. It was the punctuation mark the story desperately needed. Number 5. Science replaced magic completely. This is where Mysterious Island broke from everything Harryhausen had done before. His earlier films featured mythological creatures, Medusa turning men to stone, Cyclops crushing ships, skeletons rising from cursed earth. Pure fantasy, pure magic. But in Mysterious Island, every single monster had a scientific explanation. They weren't mystical beasts or ancient gods. They were mutations, the unintended consequences of Captain Nemo's radiation experiments designed to solve world hunger by increasing food sources. It was hard science fiction grounded in atomic age anxiety, the same fears that dominated Cold War culture. Nuclear testing, radiation poisoning. The arrogance of science tampering with nature. The creatures weren't magical, they were mistakes. And that made them terrifying in a completely different way. It was Harryhausen proving his craft could serve any genre, any story. The monsters felt more real because their origins were rooted in human hubris, not ancient curses. Number 6. Every creature scene took weeks to film. Stop-motion animation is patience incarnate. Each creature sequence required weeks of meticulous work, hundreds of separate movements photographed individually. Harryhausen would position the creature, snap a single frame, adjust it by millimeters, snap another frame. The camera couldn't move, the lighting couldn't shift. Everything had to remain perfectly consistent across thousands of photographs. For the crab attack alone, Harryhausen spent weeks locked in his studio, animating every claw movement, every leg adjustment, every shift of the creature's weight. Then the footage was painstakingly composited with the live-action plates of the actors. It's why his creatures feel so alive, because he gave them weight, momentum, personality. That's the price of making rubber, metal, and crab shells look like living animals. Modern CGI can create a monster in days. Harryhausen took weeks, and you can see the difference in every frame. Number 7. The volcano was filmed backward. The spectacular volcanic eruption that destroys the island in the finale wasn't filmed the way you'd expect. Harryhausen and his effects team built detailed miniatures of the volcano and surrounding landscape, then filmed lava pouring down the mountainside using colored smoke and carefully controlled flows. Then they played the footage backward. By reversing the film, the downward flow became an explosive upward eruption, looking far more violent and chaotic than if they'd tried to launch materials upward naturally. It's a brilliant practical effects trick. Sometimes destruction looks most convincing when you build it carefully, film it calmly, then reverse the whole thing. The result was one of the most memorable disaster sequences of early 60s cinema. Creation disguised as destruction, order reversed into chaos. Sometimes the best way forward is backward. Number 8. The South Pacific was actually Spain. Despite being set somewhere in the remote South Pacific Ocean, Mysterious Island was filmed nowhere near it. Nearly all the exterior beach and coastline shots were filmed at Saconca Bay in Catalonia, Spain. The location was chosen specifically for its volcanic landscapes, black rock formations, alien terrain, the kind of harsh environment that looked like it could mutate anything that lived there. The geography felt primordial, dangerous, otherworldly. It was exactly what the film needed, even if it was thousands of miles from where the story supposedly took place. Geography is always negotiable in filmmaking when the scenery tells the right story. Spain became the Pacific, volcanic rock became a monster's breeding ground, and audiences never questioned it for a second. Number 9. Michael Craig, nearly drowned on set. Practical effects come with real danger, and water work is notoriously unpredictable. During one of the early raft sequences filmed in a studio tank, actor Michael Craig fell into the water. It should have been routine. Actors fall in controlled environments all the time, but his costume's heavy boots filled with water instantly, dragging him down like weights. He couldn't kick free, couldn't surface. Panic set in. The crew reacted quickly, pulling him out before tragedy struck, but it was a terrifyingly close call. Craig survived. The scene eventually got filmed, and the production continued. But it's a stark reminder that even in controlled studio environments, movie making can turn lethal in seconds. The ocean in Mysterious Island might have been artificial, but the dangers were very real. Number 10. The ocean was completely fake. Every single ocean scene in the film, every crashing wave, every distant horizon, every storm-tossed sequence was filmed in large studio tanks using painted backdrops and carefully dyed water. There was no real sea, no actual island location for the water sequences. Everything was artificial, controlled, meticulously lit to create the illusion of endless Pacific waters. The backgrounds were paintings, the waves were generated by machines. Even the color of the water was adjusted to match the tropical aesthetic. It required enormous technical skill to make it convincing, to blend the studio environments with the Spanish coastal footage and Harryhausen's miniature work. But the illusion held perfectly. Audiences believed they were watching a remote island surrounded by vast ocean. Instead, they were watching genius-level set design and cinematography, turning pools into oceans. Number 11. Life-sized props blended with animation. Harryhausen understood something crucial. Actors needed to physically interact with the monsters to sell the illusion. So his team built life-sized versions of monster parts, massive crab claws that actors could wrestle with, enormous bee bodies they could strike and dodge. These practical props were filmed with the actors, then those shots were painstakingly matched to Harryhausen's stop-motion footage in post-production. The blend was seamless. When you see an actor grappling with a claw, that's a real prop. When you see the entire crab moving, that's stop-motion animation. The combination made the creatures feel solid, tangible, genuinely dangerous. The actors weren't pantomiming against empty air. They were fighting rubber and metal that had weight and presence. That physical interaction translated through the screen, making the animated sequences feel grounded in reality. Number 12. The Nautilus was inspired by Disney. Captain Nemo's submarine wasn't directly borrowed from Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but it was heavily influenced by Harper Goff's iconic design, that distinctive combination of crocodile and shark aesthetics, particularly the submarine's top spar and distinctive rounded windows. Harryhausen created one of his most detailed miniatures for the Nautilus, spending weeks perfecting every rivet, every panel, every architectural detail. That miniature later appeared in museum exhibits, a testament to its craftsmanship. It's a perfect example of how good design transcends studios and rivalries. Disney had created something visually definitive. Harryhausen respected that, borrowed from it, and made it his own. Great artists don't just create, they recognize excellence and build upon it. Number 13. Bernard Herrmann made the monsters terrifying before they appeared. Composer Bernard Herrmann, the legendary genius behind Psycho and Vertigo, brought his orchestral mastery to Mysterious Island with a brass-heavy score performed by the London Symphony Orchestra. But his greatest contribution was giving each creature its own distinct sound motif. You heard the monsters before you saw them. The music telegraphed their presence, built anticipation, created dread. When that crab theme rumbled through the theater speakers, audiences tensed before the creature appeared on screen. Herrmann understood that horror is as much about anticipation as spectacle, that the moments before the monster reveal are often more terrifying than the reveal itself. His score gave the creatures weight and presence, made them feel alive in the audience's imagination before Harryhausen's animation brought them to visual life. Sound and image working in perfect, terrifying harmony. Number 14. One monster never made it to the screen. Not every creature in Harryhausen's imagination made it to film. He originally planned a giant mutated lizard to appear in an early sequence. Storyboards were drawn. Creature designs were sketched and approved. But time and budget, the eternal enemies of ambitious filmmaking, ran out before he could animate it. The lizard stayed trapped on paper, locked in Harryhausen's archives, a monster that never got its moment to terrorize audiences. It's a reminder that for every creature that makes it to the screen, there are dozens that don't. Every film is a battlefield between vision and resources, between what the artist wants to create and what reality allows. The giant lizard remains one of cinema's great what-ifs, a lost monster from a master's imagination. Number 15. It inspired Spielberg and Peter Jackson. Mysterious Island became essential viewing for a generation of young filmmakers who would grow up to dominate cinema. Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson both cited Harryhausen's creature work in this film as direct inspiration for their own monster epics. Spielberg referenced it when creating Jurassic Park, drawing on the sense of scale and organic movement Harryhausen achieved. Peter Jackson studied it obsessively while preparing his 2005 King Kong remake, trying to capture that same blend of wonder and terror. The stop-motion giants, mutated bees, and prehistoric horrors showed them what was possible with patience, imagination, and meticulous craftsmanship. Harryhausen didn't just make monsters for one generation, he made careers for the next. His influence echoes through every creature feature that followed, every CGI dinosaur, every impossible beast brought to life through obsessive dedication to craft. Mysterious Island arrived when creature features desperately needed more than rubber suits and men in zipper costumes. Harryhausen gave them something revolutionary, stop motion that felt organic, mutations that felt scientifically plausible, and an adventure that balanced Jules Verne's sense of wonder with atomic age paranoia. Shot with miniatures, Harrods crabs, and endless patience, it didn't just entertain audiences, it inspired generations of filmmakers. From a luxury food hall to a volcanic finale, from monsters that barely survived budget cuts to artists who never forgot what they witnessed, Mysterious Island proved that practical effects magic isn't about money. It's about obsession. One frame at a time, one creature at a time, one locked camera position, making rubber and metal breathe and live. So which secret about Mysterious Island shocked you the most? Tell me in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the practical magic that built cinema's greatest creatures, hit that subscribe button, because the best movie monsters are always built by hand, one impossible frame at a time.